Hi everyone, so today I'm going to be talking about books that you make from a single sheet of paper. So I'm going to start out with a couple of pieces of just white copy paper, and you'll see on some of them I've put these red lines, and these are actually cutting guides for where we're going to cut this single sheet of paper into making one whole book. So let me show you first how we're going to fold them. This is just a regular sheet of A1 copy paper, and you see I've already folded it, so it looks like it's folded in half, and then in half again, and in half again. In reality though, what we're going to do is we're going to take, and I'm just switching to yellow so that you can see it, regular sheet of copy paper. You can fold it hot dog or hamburger the first way, either way will work. So I'm going to fold it first in half. I'm going hot dog. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this the hot dog way. I'm not using a bone folder right now, but I could be. Now, instead of folding it in half and in half again, I'm going to open it up, because when you fold paper, if I were to fold this with the paper already folded in half, it would create an uneven fold, and I would be off just slightly by this fold here. So you always want to, and especially when you're doing origami or any type of real precise paper folding like that, you want to only fold a single sheet, never overfold. So now I just did hot dog and hamburger, and now what I'm going to do is something called a cupboard fold. And a cupboard fold means I'm going to take the outer edges and I'm going to fold them into the middle. So I'm going to cupboard fold in this way. Turn it, and I'm going to cupboard fold in the other side. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me the paper that has now 8 sections in it. Now, as you saw on the other sheets of paper, I'm simply going to cut a portion of the folded line, and that's going to turn this single sheet of paper into a book. So I'm going to do the very simple one right now, where I'm going to cut from the bottom straight up to the last folded line. Making sure I cut right up to the fold but not through it. Now what will happen is I'm going to accordion fold this, and I might be reversing my folds at some point, like this one's going to fold in this way. I'm actually going to reverse that fold. And right there I have a nice little tiny book made from a single sheet of paper. Okay, it's as simple as that. So on any of the other ones, in this case, I would cut on the T. So I'm cutting up one fold, over one fold, and over one fold this way. And again, the same thing, I'm just going to fold my papers, and in some cases I might have to reverse the folds. And again, same size, I have a book from a single sheet of paper. Now where you see the gaps in there, where the folds are, those could be left alone like that, or you could put a little bit of glue there and seal that down. One of the most popular ones that you'll find out sort of on the internet and in most of the books is the one where you cut the hole in the middle. So it's folded exactly the same way. I folded it in half hot dog, in half, and in half again hamburger with the cupboard folds. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold the paper in half the hamburger way, so that I have a little bit of the line here and the rest of it over there. And I'm just going to cut with the scissor on that red line, making sure not to cut past where the fold is right here. So now I have that. I'm going to fold this up, reverse these folds here. So I'm just going to fold them back and forth. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that hole in the middle and fold everything together like that. And again, I have a nice single sheet fold. And you could stack quite a few of these together to make a carousel book. And I'll show you in a little bit how to do covers for these kinds of books. Another thing you can do is, instead of using 8.5 by 11 paper, you can use 9 by 12 construction paper. And your folds can be done in thirds instead of halves. This can get a little bit more math involved in it, but if you do your folds in thirds, now I just eyeballed that, I didn't measure it, but it would be a good way to teach measuring. They'd have to mark off every 3 inches. And likewise, I would fold it in thirds this way, and then I would have an alternate pattern to cut from. And I'm going to post a JPEG on the Moodle page so that you can see the various types of cutting patterns that there are. And finally, the last one that you can do starts out with a square of paper. So I cut, this was a 12 by 18 piece of construction paper that I cut down to be 12 by 12. And with this one, I'm going to do the same thing that I did with all of the other papers. I'm going to fold it in half. Now it's construction paper, so it's a little bit tougher to fold because paper has a grain. And right now I can tell I'm folding against the grain because it's a little bit more difficult to fold. Notice I turn everything to the right side. That's just how I like to fold. When I feel it tough like this, I would probably use, if I could find it, there it is, my bone folder to really kind of get a nice crisp edge on it. Okay, so I folded it in half and I did the cupboard fold, and now I'm going to fold it in half the other way. And this way I can totally tell, just by the tension of the paper, that I'm folding with the grain. I can feel it. It's folding a lot easier, so the grain of the paper is running this way instead of this way. And there is a trick for figuring out the grain of the paper. When you take a piece of paper, and it can be any type of paper, from construction paper, even copy paper, you can feel it. If you take the piece of paper and you hold it in your hands like this, and you fold it like that, you can feel the tension or the pressure of the paper. And then I'm going to hold it and fold it like this, and it definitely folds a little bit easier this way. You'll see that I can actually push it further together than I could when I had it this way. So I know that the grain of the paper is running top to bottom because it's harder to fold it horizontally. So that's how you figure out the grain of the paper, and that works with any type of paper. Okay, back to this. So I have my large square folded into 16 squares. Okay, so what I've done here is I have my folded piece that has the 16 squares on it, and I've drawn the cutting path for this, which is going to be a spiral, and it's going to break down into a small 3-inch by 3-inch book. So I'm going to start cutting over here. I'm going to cut up 3 squares. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to turn the paper and cut up 2 squares. 1, 2. Turn the paper again, cut up 2 squares. Turn the paper again, cut up 1 square. Turn the paper again and cut up 1 square. When I used to teach this, I would call this the puzzle book, because you could take a single sheet of paper that had an image on it or a drawing or something along those lines, and then when you cut it and folded it up into the book, it would look nothing like its original piece, and you had to basically unfold it, take it apart, and put it back together to see what the image was. So starting over here, I'm going to fold up, and I'm just going to keep folding back and forth like an accordion. And in some cases I'm going to have to reverse the fold, but I'm just going to keep folding, following the folds until I get down to the middle. And I have my completed puzzle book. Now, if you wanted to do this with an image on there and you wanted it to be able to open and sit back normally, you could have an image on either side. So there could be one image on one side of a square, and then on the other side you could have another image, and when it's folded up you wouldn't be able to tell what it was. Or if it was just on one side, you could fold it so that you could put covers on either end of it so that it would stay in its book form. Okay. All right. Last thing I'm going to show you is making a pocket page. All right. So this is just a sheet of colored copy paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in half the long way, hot dog, open it up, and almost like I'm going to make a paper airplane, I'm going to take the top two corners and I'm going to fold them into the middle line. So I'm going to do that here, and I'm going to do it on this side. Line it up in the middle. Okay, and now I'm going to take the point here and I'm going to fold that down all the way to the bottom and crease that. Flip it over so that the point is facing up, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue right here and right here. I'm just taking a regular old glue stick, and not a lot of glue, just a little spot to secure the pocket. And I'm going to go ahead, there's the glue, fold that up, and then we're going to fold the whole thing in half again. So now you have a little book page with pockets in it. Let me get a little more glue over there to get that to stick. So now I'm going to make a few more of these. I have just two different colored pieces of copy paper. That really matches my background. So again, fold it in half. Fold down the top two corners. Fold that to the middle. So now that I folded 4 of them, I'm going to glue them back to back. So now I have my little pocket book with all these pockets in it. You just put a cover on this and I would have a nice little completed book. So these are your single sheet of paper books. And next up after this, we're going to be doing origami books. So have fun playing with your single sheets of paper, and I can't wait to see what your books look like when you're done.